The Susan Brender Show is a radio show online broadcasted on YouTube across the United States and globally. The show features guests who speak about health, spirituality, entertainment, and a host of subjects to enlighten people across the nation. Listen to the show that empowers women and men alike and highlights those who have made a difference.
I am Susan Brender here today with my co-host Sean Eugene Flynn, speaking about PTSD first responders. And on the show today are three people, amazing people who have experienced trauma that is so severe that one can't even imagine. And I'm going to have them talk about what it was like for them during this time that they've had to deal with it and had to try to recover, because it's such a very dangerous and very unbelievable situation. So, Sean, take it away, because I want you to introduce our wonderful Colonel Mike Brown.
Thank you, Susie. Colonel Mike, thanks for coming back. Colonel Mike Brown, 31 years, I believe, approximately in the United States military. So today, I'm grateful to have you here, Mike. And Mike, I'll let you just say a brief hello. And I've got a scenario, Mike. I know you trust me. I trust you. Who better to have in this field training environment, in this important call today, than you? And I am grateful that you trust me. And but let me let you say hello to our people out there, Colonel Mike Brown.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. I guess is a great thing to be here again, Sean and Susie. Really appreciate coming back to your show. It's an honor. It's an honor to be here today, because the number one reason we're here is to support our veterans and those that are out there suffering with post-traumatic stress disorder, moral injury, and of course those that have passed on because of suicide, because of the pain and suffering that just has overwhelmed them so much that they've taken their lives. So it's great to be here again to discuss this epidemic that is plaguing America. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, Mike. And Susie, what I'm going to do is I'm getting ready to introduce our next guest. Today is a unique situation. It's a great opportunity. As Mike explained in our last show, PTSD, it's a high-stakes situation. It's life and death. So not to make light of it, I'm going to create a scenario and introduce our next guest here. And again, I'm Sean Eugene Flynn. Disclaimer, not a doctor, not a counselor, not a spokesperson for any fellowship of recovery. I represent myself, but I will say this. I qualify as a former first responder, Deputy Sheriff, Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. That's a fact. And today, I'm honored because we have a young man joining us here today who's 19 years old. His name is TravisPatterson. And what I'd like to say is we've talked about this in previous shows. PTSD does not discriminate. It's true. It can happen to all of us. And as Mike Brown, Colonel Mike Brown, spoke in the previous show, that rank has no privileges in this disease. It doesn't discriminate. There's nobody above or below. It affects us all. So I say that because we're in this field training environment today. We're in the lineup room. Susie, you're the dispatcher. Okay, we're getting prepared to go on this call, and bear with me here. It's a life and death call. There might be somebody out there listening right now. We're going through a tough time right now with this COVID-19. And let me correlate that. With COVID-19 comes a lot of things that are similar to PTSD. Okay, there comes isolation. There comes fear. There comes worry. There comes concern, right? And this is a great opportunity right now for us to share, especially having a young man that's 19 years old who can represent the young people in America and the truth about what he's doing and going through to beat this trauma that he's been through. And I have to say this, and I say this sincerely. TravisPatterson is a hero, okay? Colonel Mike Brown, 32 years United States military. He's a perfect representative of what the truth is that's going on that we talked about in the last show. The suicide rates in America, okay? So bear with me. Okay, Colonel Mike Brown, we're in a field training environment right now. I'm at the podium. Just take a deep breath. We're all going to do this together. It's going to be fine. I represent first responders. It's a fact. I've been in the homes, in the communities of the streets of America. I've been on the end of the 911 call that we don't know what's going to happen. It's true. When that 911 calls out, we respond. We go into the most dangerous situations. We get prepared. We train. We bring the sincere effort and spirit of a first responder who wants to save others. So I represent the truth about what's going on in America, the truth about what's going on with myself. And I get today to have a 19-year-old young man, TravisPatterson, here, who's the son of a mother who is a first responder, who is in his corner, doing everything she can to help her son. And Travis, if you could introduce yourself real quick before we go on this important call. Honored to have you here and to say hello to our audience.
Hey, thanks, Sean. I'm a little nervous right now. I've never done this before, but my name is Travis. I live in Boerne, Texas right now by San Antonio. Just getting into like recovery and bettering myself.
It's not a problem. It's natural. This is what happens here, Susie. And I'm going to let you do what you do best as a dispatcher here in a moment. See, this is what happens right before that 911 call comes in. We get a little nervous. We do our best. We get ourselves trained up. And now we're going to go on this important call, right? And then we're prepared. Okay, we're prepared to share humbly and sincerely because this is life and death. It's important for those out there, the veterans. That's why we're going to have Mike Brown bring it home toward the end. But this is what we've talked about in the shows before. It doesn't discriminate. So guess what? Today, a former first responder, Sean Eugene Flynn, who's been in the communities, been in the homes, been in the resistance. I've seen what trauma can do to young people, right? I've had it happen to myself, okay? So today, with all of my experience and my training of what we call winning hearts and minds, Mike understands this. As first responders, as military, as police officers, we go out to help people at the end of that 911 call, and we also go out to capture hearts and minds. We also go out to develop mutual trust and understanding. So that's what's going to happen here today. And I'll speak more about how I can relate, but I'm going to tell you the truth. See, I had this great life with this great family, and I had a chance to be a first responder. But then I worked with these young people for all these years, and I did my best to inspire them and to show them hope and to let them know that there's a better way, right? Now, I'm 45 years old. After going through all that and doing my best, I got to experience what they sometimes experience in the neighborhoods, in the homes, in the domestic situations. And again, we're not making any excuses. We're not victims here today. But today you're going to hear a young man, and Susie, you take this over. You're going to hear a young man here who, let's get our perceptions correct here. Just because I'm 45 years old and I've been a first responder and I have all this life experience, and just because Michael Brown, 32 years in the United States military, has all that experience, which is valuable and is real, and we're going to share about what's important about how to bring more help to first responders, to the military. We're going to talk about that truth. We're not just going to talk. We're going to talk about actions we need to take. But today, we get to have 19-year-old TravisPatterson talk about the truth of how it doesn't discriminate and what he's doing to save his own life. And the truth is, he's been saving my life for the last 8 months.
Yeah, this is a good time to really talk a little bit about our wonderful young guest. I would like to know, Travis, you have a story, and I'm sure it's very, very special because not everybody has gone through what you've gone through, and yet here you are. You seem to have been in the recovery stage, and things are going your way. Now, tell our audience, if you will, all about what happened to you and what's going on now.
Thanks, Susie. So I'm gonna try to be as detailed as possible, the best way I can. As a child, things were a little difficult in the home. The family wasn't really put together in the best way. There was the divorce, there was the anger, there was the hurt, and when it's hard for me to kind of go into that, but I guess when I was 14, I started to, be really depressed, and I really didn't, like myself. I started getting into, and I had already been pretty traumatized. I got into, drugs and alcohol, and all the way till I was 19, and getting into some really bad chemical dependency, some things I never thought I'd do, and brought myself to experience even more trauma. And I'm trying to be as detailed as possible. It's not something I really share a lot.
Hey, Travis, real quick. Travis, you could share about what we've been doing together since we met 7-8 months ago, approximately, right? And let me say this too about Travis's family. They're a beautiful family. His mom, first responder, police officer, right? So we're doing this collectively. And so Travis, talk about what we've been doing together over the last several months in that action, and feel free to share stories. Feel free to explain what that was like. And then after you do that, I'm going to turn it over to the Colonel, okay? Because here's the truth. We have one primary purpose here today, and the purpose is to spread the truth about what is happening with PTSD, chemical dependency. But our primary purpose really is for those that are out there listening, that we might inspire, that can reach out and listen to what we've been doing. Again, we don't claim to be experts. We don't take any credit, because we got a second chance and we started listening to folks that have recovered. So talk about a little bit about what we've been doing for the last, 7 months, Travis.
Travis, you inspire people, okay? Just keep that in mind, because if a 19-year-old can talk all about this very serious disease called PTSD, then that is really fine, because people need to hear, they need to understand what young people go through, what the responders go through, and what others go through, because it's really a travesty. So with that said, tell us a little bit about your story, if you will.
Okay. Yeah, Susie, of course. So I guess, like I said, when I was little, I'm gonna kind of get into it. I was physically and emotionally hurt a lot, and I was very scared, that traumatized, and no one would really. I had all this energy. I was very hyperactive, and
Travis, you have gone through so much, and you're an inspiration to all young people. You're an inspiration to everybody, actually, because it's not every day that people come on our show, right, Sean, who talk about a story that is so devastating and needs to be told. Am I right there, Sean?
Right. And as we go through this, and if there's anybody out there that is right now listening, okay, if we could suspend our doubts, suspend what we think we might know about, this invisible wounding. And right now we get a chance to hear from a young man. And by the way, his mother has approved him being here. His mother is behind him. He's healing. He's learning to forgive. Okay. We know that his family is behind him now. And not only that, he has a family and a fellowship that I think he's about to talk about right now. A fellowship, but it's more than just a fellowship. It's a path of action. And I can't discount this path of action that was laid out before all of us. We were able to find it. And now Travis gets to add his unique self and his greatest gifts to this path of action. And that path of action, I'm going to give it credit. It's called the steps. Okay. We call it dual diagnosis. Okay. Again, we all on this phone here today, we qualify as basic human beings. So the people out there listening, let's open ourselves up here a little bit. And this is a perfect time to do this with the COVID-19 thing here, because we're all being forced to isolate and come and be in front of one another. And we have to ask ourselves some real questions now with these real challenges. Are we willing to open up and ask ourselves, how can we be of maximum service to our family? What are we going to do when the fear comes, when the pressure comes, when the anger comes? What are we going to do when the judgment comes? With all this external stuff coming at us right now, okay, all this stuff with the COVID going on, this is the perfect time to listen to a young man, to a 32-year colonel. I'll humbly say I qualify for this trauma. It almost took my life, right? So now, Travis, I talked about the fellowship. I'm going to be quiet. I get it. And by the way, forgive me, everybody. Forgive me, Susie. Sometimes I could be a little passionate and superfluous. And also sometimes I can deny my own struggles. And today I'm not here to disassociate from that. I'm here to tell the truth about that when the time is available for that. But more importantly, this is what first responders do. This is what true leaders do. When they go out and Mike goes out on a patrol into a village, it's about everybody. He's got an oath, okay, to protect the Constitution of the United States of America and to protect the civilians. A police officer has an oath to go out and protect life, liberty, and property on the home front, okay? And to uphold the laws of this land. So guess what? Today, you've got a first responder and a military man here talking about a disease that's real. It's killing veterans, it's killing police officers, it's killing firemen, okay? And guess what? It's killing our youth. And that's a fact. So that's the humility that Mike and I do operate from. Thank you for listening to me. And I think it's important because if we're going to help veterans out there and the suicide rate, and if we're going to help police officers and first responders out there, okay, because we're having this problem, and if we're going to help young people, we all need to listen, right? And not just, we're going to talk, but after we talk, we're just going to talk about ways that we can go a little further. And that goes to the agencies out there that we represent, that we used to work for. Okay, that goes for parents and families out there. Okay, that goes for the veterans administrations out there to help these guys. After this, we're just going to put it out there, and then we're going to get back into the action. And right now, Travis is about to talk about that action that starts with us. It's not about expecting someone else to do this for us. It's about us doing it together, and it starts here right now. And I'll turn it over to Travis.
Thanks, Sean. I really appreciate that. So this is the part I was really want to talk about. This is kind of the, this is the good part that I like to talk about. And it's, so I like to experience, it's easy for me to break it into three parts: my experience, my strength, and my hope. And, that breaks it down for me to be able to share pretty precisely. And so right now we're at, the strength and the hope. Sean mentioned that the steps, I had to find myself personally. I had to find who I was. I couldn't recover from, the things I had been doing, and, the things I'd been doing wrong. I couldn't stop because, I wasn't able to do it, on my own. And the only thing I could do is call out to something that was greater than me. And, the only thing I had, whatever was greater than me, was my only option. That was my only hope. And, I came to find myself, and I started to be happy. And about 6 months go by, I'm doing pretty good. And the psychological stuff started kicking in. The nightmares got, to where I didn't want to live anymore. I was trying to just end my life. I couldn't take the night terrors anymore. And that was like, that was the main problem, was the nightmares. And the PTS symptoms were really bad. People were looking at me weird because, I'd be like jumping and shocks and pulses and things I can't really explain. And it's like Sean mentioned, the invisible wounding. It's like, for me, like when I heard that, something clicked in my mind. It's like this invisible torture kind of like following me around and like drilling into my brain. And I don't know what it is, right? And I know it has something to do with the things that in the past that happened to me and the things I did to myself, right? I'm not perfect. And I screwed up a lot, and I have to pray for forgiveness, because really I don't deserve to be where I'm at right now. And, but, like I was saying, I was 6 months sober. I started to, get into the craziness, the, psychosis, I guess you could call it. And I find myself at 7 months sober. I couldn't find, the COVID-19 is going on. You can't really find help. Nobody is there to answer the phone. I called the crisis hotline. I was, trying to end my life. I went to emergency detention, and then, I tried to end my life again. I went to a mental hospital for a week, and, I'd been so ungrateful, and I felt like, I hadn't been making any progress. Like what progress have I been making if I've been so ungrateful that I'm willing to hurt myself? And and I guess I was ungrateful, like, for my sobriety, and I realized, like, while I was kind of in there, that, I need to be more grateful if I want to keep what I have.
Travis, hey Travis, you know what's amazing? You did all that. You called me. You called me months ago when I was in Palm Beach County. You haven't chose the path to go take a pill, to go use drugs, choose alcohol. You've done all this. You've gone with all this real stuff that you're healing from. And you actually I'm just going to tell the audience this. What Travis did was he did everything that he was supposed to do. And then he realized, okay, I got to help myself. He drove himself, okay, to a hospital. And what's amazing about what he did is he could have chose those other options. Okay. He could have chose to go and hide the pain or mask the pain with a drug or with a substance. And he didn't do that. He comes back out, and we're all proud of him because he went to the equation that he learned in his fellowship. Okay. And he relied on his community, and then he trusted himself, and he took the high road. He didn't burden his mom. He didn't burden any of us. And he went and got himself help. He got himself back in the game. And so I wanted to make sure that the audience understood that, and they're not confused, that you're dealing with what you're dealing. You are getting better. I've seen the transformation since the first day I met you. Okay. I know, by the way, for the audience out there listening, people might be scared right now. They might be saying, oh my God, what is this? Well, no, it's real. And the truth is, what's also real is that Travis hasn't gone and masked his pain. He's healing. And not only on top of that, this young man goes out and helps people, and he shares, and he does things for other people, and he's brilliant. He's a college student. He's doing very well in San Antonio. I believe it's San Antonio College. He's doing all this, and he didn't choose to bury it. He chose to use the tools that he had at his hand and to be right here, right now. So if anybody's out there listening and thinking, oh my God, this is scary. And here's the thing. Here's what I'm trying to say. We're all in this together, and we're not disposable. The trauma's real. Okay. It is a wound. Okay. But it doesn't mean that we are to be pushed off to the side and not cared for and not have compassion. There's a young man right here that's actually healing, and he's taking these actions. So I'm so proud of you, Travis. We've had a lot of close calls. You ready? Hang in there, Susie. We've had a lot of close calls over the last 7 months, right? I've talked to Travis's mom. I've developed a relationship and a respect with her. It's amazing, right? She does the same thing that I used to do. First responder, right? She's a beautiful parent. She's got a son here. She loves him. She's doing everything she can to keep it together. And guess what? She gets to now hear me talk about, hey, listen, I get it. I've been on the streets of America. I've seen the trauma, and I had the trauma happen to me, right? So Travis is my hero. I'm on the same team with mom and the family, right? But guess what, Travis? You're saving my life, buddy. You're getting my life back.
I have a question for you, Travis, and that is, you're in the university right now. Have you shared the story with the students at all?
Actually, yeah, I did. Susie, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so, yes, I'm in college right now. And I'm taking psychology as my major. I want to help people who deal with the mental disorders and things like that. And I share my experience. I've met some people who struggle with their addictions and things like that. And some people have come to me, but I tell them that like, I know these things, right? But when I was in the place I was, when I was helping these people, I said I might die tomorrow, but I'm here to help. I know this information, and I hope you take it. But I'm not in any better place than you. I don't know anything. I might be dead tomorrow, but.
Hey, Susie, real time, and Travis, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. You're doing it. And here's the thing. Colonel Michael Brown's on the line right now. He's our colonel, right? He's got a lot of life experience. He's got a lot of things to bring here. Colonel, if you could right now, I trust you, okay? Bring this together as to what's happening right now, what the truth is, and how it ties in to the traumas that our men and women in the military go through, and on the home front as first responders. And I know that you have something here to offer here to help us all here, if you don't mind, Col Brown.
And Mike, the other thing I'd like people to understand is the numbers of people. I know that statistics don't really do it for a lot of people in our audience, because it's like, all right, okay. But on the other hand, just compare what is going on with people with PTS today as opposed to what we're so worried about this pandemic, okay? Because I think that there's so many people that have gone through this and we don't understand, okay? So Mike, let's hear from you.
Hey, thanks, Sean and Susie, and to Travis. You're a very courageous man. I have to tell you that right now. You inspired me. I had chills going through my body. You know, we have sons and daughters of this nation that are your age right now that just not getting through it. And although the circumstances are different, I always will say the music is different, but the lyrics are usually the same. I'm going to say something to you right now, and I just hope you take this with for what it's worth. You gain strength and courage and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear head on. And I was told this a long time ago. You know, you are able to say to yourself, I lived through this horror. I think you can understand this, that I can take it step by step, day by day, because I've been through it. And I hope you can take those words to the wise and pass those on, that your strength and courage and confidence is going to take you far, far down the line and overcome this very horrendous disease of PTSD. It's chronic. It's going to be with you for a long time. But as long as you're doing the right things, which I just heard you are doing, you're going to save a lot of friends out there that are suffering. And as Susie said, that you've been able to express that into your community. Boy, that's powerful, because that's what needs to happen. Yeah, Susie's question, to expand on this epidemic, and for the audience out there, we need to bring this awareness to full face into the power, because we are facing an epidemic out there. I know so much attention has been placed on the epidemic that we got going on right now, and that's fair for everybody in America, because that's a scary thing we're facing. But let's not bury the fact what's going on in America right now. And our show had some powerful influence last week, and I thank you, Susie and Deborah and Sean, for bringing this show to America to highlight. The CEO of Wounded Warrior Project actually commended us on bringing this very, very hot topic back into the America forefront. And we are losing over 6,000 veterans each year by suicide for this epidemic that we got going on right now. That's 22 per day. That's one every 65 minutes. And what we are going to surpass right during this pandemic in 2020, 70,000 America veterans are going to die by the hand of their own hand in suicide this year. So that's what we're addressing here today. What Travis has expanded on is young kids his age will be taking their own lives because they cannot get the help that they need here in America. What I would ask those out there in America that are listening here today, the effort you're placing on this pandemic, I hope and I pray when this is all over, that same effort is placed on this epidemic that has been plaguing our nation since 2008. More people are dying on the off the battlefield today than on the battlefield. 1.5 times the rate of the national public is actually dying from suicide on our own home soil. That has to stop. Thanks, Susie. I hope I answered your question.
And Mike, and Susie, I know that, you know, again, time and whatnot. Mike, you had some stuff that you prepared for the show today, and let me tie this all together. Mike represents the military community and what's really happening. He just brought those facts just right now. He brought the facts in the last show. I'm here to let you know that as a former deputy sheriff, police officer in America, that the facts is that when we get to this point and it becomes an injury and it is a disease, okay, now are the agencies now going to start stepping up and having a little bit more compassion? Because here's the thing. We have compassion today for a 19-year-old. Mike Brown does completely. I have compassion today as a former first responder, and this is what I did my whole career for everybody. Because here's the thing, when that call goes out, when that 911 call goes out, it doesn't matter if you're from Yale, jail, Park Ave, or the park bench. We're going. And we're going to go into a situation that's scary, right? So this situation in America right now is scary, okay? And it needs to be dealt with and not denied and disassociated with. So today, as representatives of the United States military, as a representative of law enforcement, okay, also, I'm not going to disinclude what all first responders go through. Okay, it's a real thing. And now what Mike's basically saying, collectively, let's step our game up collectively. And Susie, ask some good questions about how we can do that collectively. Okay, so today we operated again from humility. Colonel Mike Brown, okay, retired Sergeant Flynn, okay, those that took an oath, because we're willing to die for our country, we're willing to die for those citizens that we serve. So what that means is now we hope that those citizens on the other side and those civilians, that we remember one thing: we're not terminally unique. We're all going through it. How can we together show that compassion before comparisons, so we can actually make a little ripple and start making some progress?
You know, I think it's very important for Mike to tell us some stories, because he's got the most amazing stories. These stories will give you an idea of what these people on PTS are going through, and how there are people who care about them, who want to make changes, want to get them to recover. So, Mike, what is happening with regard to the stories that you told me? Apparently, youth are getting involved as well. So, do you want to give us a little tidbit of what has been told to you before?
Thank you for allowing me to share some very personal stories I was involved in. Let me give you a quick snapshot. In 2016, I decided to retire out of the military. I was facing my own demons. You know, we talked about that in the last show, where I tried to take my own life for PTSD. And it took me for the last 5 years, 4 years now, 5 years, still recovering from a lot of my demons, but I'm on my way. I tried the corporate world out after the retirement. That didn't work out too well for me. So I spent that much time in recovery. But real quick, in 2018, I decided to totally off the grid from employment. And I said, I really want to go back and help the veterans community. This is where I really started looking at a different purpose and meaning in life. And so in 2018, I was fortunate enough to be selected from the Mission Continues program as a fellow intern, then selected by the Boston Red Sox Foundation and the Massachusetts General Hospital home base program as an intern to go out and talk to families of the fallen. And was that an undertaking? What that meant was I was going to go out and talk to the families that have lost loved ones, either on the battlefield or at the hands of suicide, for PTSD and mental illness. And so that's exactly what I did. I went from stories all the way from Washington, the state of Washington, all the way to the state of Maine. And I was able to talk to families, and how humbling and how horrific, maybe how grateful, maybe how to look at life from a different perspective. And one thing in life that taught me was I was never going to stop supporting our veterans, especially those families that were involved with members that were killing themselves because they just could not see another way. And so, working with Massachusetts General Hospital, the Boston Red Sox Foundation, and home base, who actually provide some of the world-class services we talked about last week. They're part of the Wounded Warrior Project and the Warrior Care Network out of Boston, Massachusetts. And they do provide groundbreaking collaboration with PTSD, traumatic brain injury, anxiety, and depression. They're not solely the answer out there, but they are a groundbreaking answer to some of the treatment centers that we need so richly into our rural areas. However, we're still into the big city areas. But that's one of the things Wounded Warrior Project actually does. They reach out to the rural edge. And I was so encouraged by that I could actually do something under this fellowship and actually talk to people about this hard topic we're talking about. And I'd like to share a couple of those stories with you, just snippets of them. So I'm going to introduce you to a couple of people. And unfortunately, they're no longer with us. But United States Army Specialist Patrick Gibbs and Sergeant James Lyons. Boy, what special kids. I'm not sure we have their pictures up, but nevertheless, two young, vibrant kids out of New England area. Both Army snipers. I love Army snipers. But you know, in that job field, it's up and personal. It's that close knife fight in the battlefield. They both placed their lives on the line for their nation against an enemy so often was out to destroy their very freedoms, of freedoms both Gibbs and Lyons swore to protect. And they were on a mission one day, and that wasn't going to be their way. The enemy wasn't going to succeed, not on Gibbs and Lyons' watch. Both them, Gibbs and Lyons, served with honor, bravery, and courage. And in Afghanistan, they defeated that enemy more than once, and they made it back home. But sadly, as soon as Gibbs and Lyons made it back home, back on their own soil, they began their battle to fight with PTSD the minute their boots hit the ground on U.S. soil. You know, for Gibbs and Lyon, it was an hour by hour, day by day fight, relentless and painful and fight. And sadly and tragically enough, what the enemy couldn't accomplish to kill them in Afghanistan, their invisible injury would drive them both to take their own lives at home. These two young, vibrant American boys, just boys, PTSD proved to be too much for both of them. You know, 1 in 3 veterans struggles with invisible wounds of war. That's the status. Some will say it's 2/3. Regardless of the number, it's too much. We've already talked about the numbers ahead of time in the questions we asked before. 66,000 so far dead, 6,000 a year, 65 minutes, one every 65. Too many veterans lose their fight with PTSD daily, and these men and women go off and fight our wars, and it's up to us as fellow countrymen to take care of them when they get home. It's just the right thing to do.
Mike, let me ask you a question. How much do the families understand what their children are going through, albeit whether they're in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, their 50s? Do parents and families understand what's going on in the minds of these different people? And after you answer this question, Sean, we're going to have to wrap it up, but I really am curious how many people understand, really, because it is such a traumatic and such a devastating disease, and yet is a mental disease, and you can't see it. It's not like a physical disease where you can have a broken leg, a broken arm, and you can fix it. It takes time, and unfortunately, it also takes lives. So if you were to tell the families, Mike, what would you tell them?
Well, I thought long and hard about a question like this that ever was going to come to play. I'm just going to get real with America. I want to share you a story. This is a story from a family member of mine, my youngest daughter. Her name is Madison. Now, see, they don't understand, per se. They don't understand the guilt, the anger, and the shame, and why you isolate, and why you don't talk as much. Or when you do talk, you talk with a little bit of vibration and a little bit of hostility. But I will let you know one thing, after all said and done, like I said, after the 4 or 5 years I've been recovering, I'll let you know, if you're listening out there, your family's your best supporter. They just got to know. You heard Travis today, how honesty and transparency becomes a victory tool for you out of your toolkit. Well, I didn't know that at first. I wish I did. I would have been more honest, more transparent, more vibrant in the beginning. Let me answer your question, Susie. Now, I got a letter here for you today. This is straight from a letter, pen and ink, a letter from my daughter, Madison, and it's called Dad, if you don't mind me reading it to you today.
Please do.
And if I don't choke up, I've tried to read this many times before I could air it today, so I'm just going to read it, okay? Dad, today is the day to be most thankful, but there is not enough words to describe how thankful I am for you. You have been through so much, and I could not be more proud of you. You continue to grow into an amazing person every day. The love you have for the Lord amazes me. My faith is a big part of my life, and I'm so blessed to be able to share that with you. I am so proud of the man who has helped shape me into a young lady who loves the Lord. Thank you for all that you have done and continue to do. I could not picture my life without you in it. I cannot wait to see what this next year holds for you. Continue to be strong and loving, and us more than anyone has ever loved you. Maddie.
That's amazing. We're going to have to wrap this up, but Sean, can we give our audience a little hint about what's next in the series on PTSD?
Yes. Thank you for bringing up the family, because this is where it starts. Anybody out there listening right now, okay, that thinks by having a 19-year-old young man who's suffering from the same thing that Mike and I are suffering from is reckless? No. Today is how we live and how we survive. See, let me just give credit where credit needs to be given. My father, Eugene Flynn, right? He doesn't want credit, but I'm going to give it to him today. I won't get superfluous because he's a man of action. He's a man that goes out and saves others. To my oldest brother, Brian Flynn, okay? I'm number 6. You were number 1. You were the firstborn son. I got to give credit to my entire family, but I'm going to start with Brian. Brian was my coach, okay? This show is a result of the love that I had from my family. My oldest brother was my coach, and I got these gifts. They don't belong to me. They come from my father, my mother in heaven, Eileen Flynn, and they come from my oldest brother, who showed me how to be courageous, who showed me how to be there for others. And that's the secret today. That's the secret for Travis. That's the secret for Mike. We become coaches. Again, disclaimer, not a doctor, not a counselor, okay? I represent me. But the truth is, we get through this together, because what we do is we become coachable. And thank you, Brian. This is a result of the hard work that you've put in as a great older brother. And you have 2 amazing sons. One's flying the F-16 for the Air Force. The other one's a fireman. I come from a family of first responders. And I just want to give credit where credit's due, because, see, yes, they don't understand, as Mike said. It's hard, okay? But at least today, I get to share sincerely and give credit where credit's due, is that I need my family, okay? And now I'm number 6. I'm on the bench. There's 5 players on a basketball team. So I'm going to say this to Brian. Hey, you let me know whenever I got to come off the bench, because you coached me up, brother. So if you ever need me, any family member, Tim, Michael, Patricia, Mary, okay? All my cousins, okay? Again, Brian, Tim, Michael, Patricia, Mary, I love you. Thank you for all your love and support. I wouldn't be here without you. Brian, it's not over. You're still the coach. But just remember, I'm ready. At any time you call me off the bench as number 6, I'm ready. And I'm doing it right now with Travis. I'm doing it with Col Brown. I'm doing it with Susie. I'm doing it with Deborah, who's the editor. We're doing it right now. Okay. Thank you for letting me share that sincerely. Because, and this goes to Travis's mom and his family, his father, his stepfather, everybody. We need you. We love you. We support you. And the one thing that we've learned to do in this path is forgive. We take responsibility. We're not victims. Okay. We are injured. We have an equation. We're doing it together. We're going to make it. But hey, be right here with us. And thank you, because without you guys, without the family members, without those loving, supportive people out there, we just can't be here right now. And that's a fact. We can't do it alone. Mike Brown said it. There's 2 ways to do this. Try to do it by yourself, or put your hands up and realize you cannot do it alone. And then that's where it all starts. And then we get to operate from humility, gratefulness. Okay. And that's where I will challenge any of those agencies out there listening, even those in the medical community that might even think, oh man, this is not good to have a 19-year-old here with a 32-year veteran and a first responder. No, it's time to open up, bring the right and the left together, and let's dig a little deeper, and let's just not talk about it. Let's start doing something about it. So again, at the end, I always leave my information. Sean Eugene Flynn, my phone number, 561-644-5451. Okay. Not promoting myself. You guys, by calling me, you're keeping me alive. This is how it works. So if we're really going to help, we want to help the Travises out there. Okay. The 19-year-old people in the community that are civilians. This is how you help them. You make sure you help those, the first responders, those that go out and take on the toll. So that if you help us and you start stepping up the game there within the agencies and with HR, and you start stepping up the game in the VA and within America, okay, what happens is the citizens like Travis, the young people that we go to work with and try to inspire, guess what? We get more understanding of what we can do to be more useful so that they can live. Because that's the ultimate goal as a first responder, is to save lives. That's what we're doing here today.
Well, this is the end of our show, and we will be on YouTube in a couple of days, so just look us up. I want to say thank you to our guests today, Travis and Colonel Mike, and of course my co-host, Sean Eugene Flynn, for being on this great show. And I don't say it with humility, because the fact of the matter is these people are amazing. So let's stay tuned for the next one. And Sean, what do you think we should tell them about the next show? Is there anything that we're going to be doing that they should understand will be a great show?
No doubt. PTSD first responders, Colonel Mike Brown's on the team. You got me on the team. Susie, Deborah, you're on the team, right? So what we're going to do in the future here is we're also going to talk about the families out there. I happen to be vice president of a foundation called Cops Helping Kids, okay? Nonprofit. I get to be the vice president of that. It's an honor, right? So I look forward to we're going to keep the focus on the pandemic. We're not just going to talk about it and deny what's happening to military veterans, but we're going to have some guests on from the foundation of Cops Helping Kids. It's a nonprofit organization that I get to be a part of. And what we get to do in that situation is we get to keep the focus on the truth of what's happening with our young people, what's happening with the first responders on the front line in America. And we are not going to forget about Colonel Mike Brown and those veterans that go abroad to keep us safe. Right, wrong, or indifferent, it's all good. We take an oath to go out and protect and serve. And that's what we do. So I look forward to having my partner, who is the president of Cops Helping Kids, on the show. His name is Deputy Sheriff Michael Lestrange, okay, a supporter of the show. I get the chance to be with him and to help young people, to help adults and families. I'll tell you more about that organization. But here's the other thing. It's a team effort, and Colonel Mike Brown's on the team representing the United States military. Sean Eugene Flynn, former first responder, right? Got the injury, the PTS, got the wounding. You know, right now, I'm out there not for myself. I'm out there to just spread the love, spread the truth, so that maybe we can help our first responders out there, so that the young Travises of the world and all of the young people out there helping, okay, will have a better chance. And then collectively, we can all start working together and have compassion for the veterans, for the first responders, help the first responders so that we can better serve those homes that we go into and those people that call us at the most severe moments. Okay, I say that with passion. Help the first responders, and in return, this is what you get. You save money because the agency doesn't have people leaving early and burning things down, and we just deny and let people go away because, hey, you know, we just deny the fact that they're injured. No, help the first responders start doing it now, so that, guess what, the Travises and Travis's mom and everybody else out there can have better service. That's how we do it. Thank you.
Sean, I would like to first say thank you for an informative series on PTSD first responders. You're providing education to remind people of what is happening in our society. And I want to thank you again, Colonel, and I want to thank you again, Travis. So stay tuned for the next show. Bye now.
Thank you very much for having us again.
Thank you.